No, we'll do it. We'll do it right now, Allah. We'll do another one in case.
I closed.
You closed it? Okay.
I closed it. At close, it's 12 for no and 10 for yes. I can't say 7.
Okay.
Out of about 29.
Okay. Hi, Mahesh.
Mahesh has come.
Sir, unmute body, sir. Mahesh, sir.
Yes, sorry. Good evening, madam.
Hi, good evening.
Sir, you sir, ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು co-host ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ.
ನನ್ನ ಮಹೇಶ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡ್ರಿ. ಮಹೇಶ್ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಝೂಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. This is a message for all the attendees, participants who are just joining in. We are allowing a few more minutes just for people to slowly log in and set their, the system so that their audio and video are checked and things like that. All the panelists are ready to go, but we are waiting for people to just log in and settle down. Echo ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ? Mahesh?
Yes, Vijay?
More number of the places you need to, can you share this thing?
Yes, I will now.
The login.
Yes, I will.
Mahesh, is it yours? Your phone? Your
No, it's not mine.
ಯಾರ್ದೋ echo ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ. Somebody's. Okay.
I think once all of us mute should be okay.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we start? Shall we make a start? I think it's 5 past, or rather 35 past. Just waiting for people to join and settle down.
I think we could start.
Yeah, okay. Right. Good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Vijay Harpishatra. I'm one of the consultant psychiatrists in Bangalore and one of the coordinators for Telearogya webinar series. And with us, we have eminent panelists and a very good topic, which is very apt during this COVID times. The main reason why we chose this topic is I did have few patients complaining about the problem they faced due to work from home, and one of my close high school friend even talked about how he has been doing work from home for ages and he has never had problems. So there were two different kind of people I had, and we thought it's a good thing to debate to understand whether it's going to help or hinder the mental health. So with this, who worked in all different disciplines in psychiatry, which means research, teaching, and and also clinical aspects in psychiatry. Um, and just for the sake of audience, can you please post your questions in the Q&A box? And this is going to be also streamed on YouTube, and this is also going to be recorded. So the recording version will also be available in YouTube for a long time. So let's focus on this interesting topic. And I welcome you all. So with this short, and I need to introduce Madam, who is our referee, or rather, she is our chairperson today. Professor Pratima Murthy. She's a head of Department of Psychiatry at NIMHANS, and she was also heading the Center for Addiction Medicine when it started for a long time as well. And then until recently, she was also heading the forensic psychiatry unit in NIMHANS. And for those of you who don't know her, she was also sat next to Soumya Swaminathan recently in one of the conferences also. And she's a very very kind teacher and very good administrator. With this short introduction about Pratima Madam, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Vijay. Two phrases that I've actually got very tired of in the context of webinars is, can you hear me and am I audible? I think that's the closest I've gotten to webinar fatigue. I also want to make a disclosure that I really don't know what working from home means, because I think right through COVID, I don't think one has had the experience, let me say the experience of working from home. So I'm going to listen to all our, both our eminent speakers and of course the audience. I also must say that, as Vijay was telling me earlier, that we are now running parallel online sessions. I think there are two other programs that are also simultaneously happening, in the IPS South Zone, and there's another CME. So I guess we have now moved on to parallel sessions or breakout sessions indeed. But this particular session is going to be very interesting because we have two eminent speakers talking from working from home. Does it promote mental health? And I understand we've had a poll before this particular webinar has started. We will not, actually talk about the results of the poll yet, because I think, it's more exciting to keep it, in suspense till we have the debates, and then we'll see what kind of changes do occur once you've heard the debates. I hope all of you who have logged in at least have voted. And for the others who are listening on YouTube and other channels, I guess, you would have had an opportunity to vote. Nevertheless, I think it's really how the speakers are going to be able to convince us on whether working from home does improve mental health is what we're going to look at. So to go first today will be the most important thing to say is that both of them are students of NIMHANS. They're students in our department. So it's wonderful to have them, to have everybody together, actually. I think it's a very nice coming together. So Dr. Girish Chandra is a consultant psychiatrist. After completing his post-graduation at NIMHANS, he was working in Australia and then the UK. He's also the recipient of the Bhagwat Award for Young Psychiatrists at ANSIPS in 2001. He has more than 20 years of experience. I can't believe it, Girish, that you've already had 20 years of experience. And his training and exposure in various countries had given him a very unique advantage about the complexities that can arise in psychiatry in the best possible way. He's also held senior management positions. So, so both in India as well as overseas. So I think it's going to be very interesting to hear Girish speak for the motion. Then we have Dr. Virupaksha. He's a gold medalist in the DPM at NIMHANS. He did his MD also at NIMHANS. And he's currently an assistant professor of psychiatry at MS Ramaya Medical College and Hospital. Apart from having, been involved in research and publishing, he's also been, and being the gold medalist in the DPM, he's been a fellow of the WPA, as well as he's had an ICMR travel grant. He's been awarded the best doctor in patient care at MS Ramaya Medical College, as well as several awards for his research and his seminar presentations. He's a UN certified external counselor and external mental health consultant for UNICEF. And he has interests in schizophrenia, neuroimaging, school mental health, transgender mental health, and substance dependence treatment. So as you see, we have two very eminent panelists. We're going to have Girish speaking for the motion. We're going to have Virupaksha speaking against the motion. First, Girish will speak for 15 minutes, and at the end of 15 minutes, you're going to come to an abrupt halt if you continue beyond that. Then Virupaksha will speak against the motion for 15 minutes, and then we will have two rebuttals of 5 minutes each. And then if the audience wants to ask questions to the debaters, we will allow that. And hopefully, Vijay, at the end of it, we will take another vote to see how many are for the motion and how many are against the motion. I know there are people sitting on the fence. They're not really sure whether, working from home improves mental health or not. So I hope the debaters will be able to convince them of what position to take. So Girish, the time is 7:43. Your time starts now.
Thank you, ma'am. It's an honor to have this opportunity to talk in front of you. You have been one of my guru. You shaped my psychiatry life. Thank you again. So it's very exciting to debate about this topic, especially work from home and mental health with my colleague, Dr. Virupaksha. I also want to thank the Indirect team of Dr. Jagdish. It's his birthday today. And so happy birthday, Dr. Jagdish, and Dr. Mahesh and Dr. Vijay Abhishek for keeping us entertained, occupied, updated throughout this pandemic period. And Mr. Ganeshan from Microlabs, thank you as well for organizing this. So why are we talking about this topic today? The pandemic, as we all know, has changed our life forever significantly. Many people say for good, but many are struggling. In certain industries, COVID has changed working condition much more than in others. So I would like to ask a question to audience and the panel. What is the percentage of people who work from home? If you take overall, what might be the percentage? So I will come to that. Why I'm asking this question, I'll come to that in a minute. So I'm guessing probably Dr. Virupaksha will be sort of naming quite a few industries where work from home is not possible or very difficult, cumbersome, harmful. Probably he will be methodically elucidating how work from home is going to be hurting employees, employers, families, etc. When actually Dr. Harbishetter proposed this debate, he made sure one issue was very clear, and he corrected right in the beginning my course of thoughts. He said, do not get confused. We will focus on mental health in work from home situations. We are not discussing the merits of work from home itself. He said that. But having said that, I do feel it's really difficult to completely ignore the discussion about work from home. We have to focus on this issue at multiple levels. For example, it has to be, we have to talk about this at a civilizational level, urban versus rural, gender-based, industrial versus post-industrial world. So if we have to look at this issue at multiple levels. If we take for major part of civilization, human being has always worked from home before industrialization. Even today, for stay-home partners, work from home is the norm. Working in industries, offices was present in a tiny population throughout the civilization. For example, it might have been some urban populations in capitals of the kingdoms or cities. So only there used to be a little bit of work from office. Otherwise, work from home used to be the norm. So as the civilized sort of Western world and the developed countries moved towards industrialization since 18th century, that's where this we started moving more towards working away from home. So human being has managed for thousands of years, and he or she will continue to learn to manage again. So the work from home is actually an issue which we are trying to see it as something different that has cropped up in the recent past, but it is not. It's always been there. So why we are discussing about this issue today? Let's discuss about certain unique industries which contribute to what we are today, what it is our Namma Bangalore today. In Namma Bangalore today, as we all know, it's well known for IT, software, service industry, and that is many of these industries work it has been declared work from home will continue till 2022. So a lot of them are people are rejoicing about this. First, if we take the advantages, so first advantage and the most quoted advantage is traffic. During the COVID heydays, we Indians used to spend more than 7% of our day getting to work. Minimum of 2 hours was spent in commuting in Indian cities. Driving in traffic jams were the norm for the above industry, especially if you take Bangalore, Kyapuram, Hebbal, Kuruntappalya, Madhepura, or Silkboard. In any of these things, if you take Tin Factory, any of these things, if you take, it would be sitting in the jam for hours, if not anything. So, and the speed of the traffic would be less than 10 kilometers per hour, even during the peak time. I think we have all seen many pictures where what it was before and what it was after, especially with the pandemic things and how the traffic situation has changed. So this problem, just like that, disappeared, with the advent of this COVID. Some of the direct advantages, as we know, is time saved. With the time what we have saved, where all we can use this time. So, and that is this thing which we have to look into. And the money saved, and how this saved money, how it can be used, where we can use it, and how we can make it better for ourselves. And health issues, both physical health as well as the mental health. And the traveling, especially with the exposure to risk, whether it is we take accidents, whether it is we take, which might result in because of the jams and frustration tolerance and other related issues. And then going to the indirect advantages. Indirect advantages with respect to personal, if you take out at a personal level, what might be the indirect advantages? And at a family level, how these save times and money and all these things will help a family to have a better life. And so once a personal life is improved and the family life is improved, obviously the society life will improve as well. And what it will contribute to a nation building. And of course, we cannot ignore and forget environment and climate change. If we come to mental health specifically, it's established for decades now, the link between the traffic and health. So, as I think some of the studies have showed, in people who were spending, especially I think this was in Los Angeles, they did this study, where I believe 6 of the 10 busiest roads in America are in Los Angeles, and the Los Angeles University, the study showed, especially people who were spending more than 90 minutes in the traffic, there was increase in the domestic violence. Why was that? Whether it is because of the frustration tolerance, whether they were tired by the time they get home. So definite increase in domestic violence. And I don't have to probably try and link domestic violence is related to mental health. I think I'm sure we assume that every one of us know about it. The other thing is cities with higher vehicle burden. Definitely, it has been known and established that depression is more in these cities, and also the health indicators have been poor compared to where the cities where the vehicle burden is not so high. The other thing is that pollution, as we all know, worsens the mental health, causes increase in anxiety, depression, and the poor frustration tolerance, as I mentioned before. Traffic contributes directly to decline in family cohesion. One of the other things which has also come out of some of the studies is that traffic jams decreases the job and life satisfaction in general. So if we just take the traffic itself, that is one huge factor which has contributed to improving the mental health of people who have been working from home. So we'll come back to that at a later stage with my this thing about it is not when after the argument Virupaksha is going to put up in my rebuttal why it is so. The other thing is with respect to other important thing which comes out apart from the traffic is human being is a social animal, and him not being with his colleagues, not being with other co-workers, and just him sitting at home, it is not good for his mental health. It's absolutely correct and it's absolutely right that human being is a social animal. Social interaction is almost always positive, but what we cannot forget is, was human being less social before industrialization? If anything, today, whatever we are today is because of the curiosity. Because of curiosity, we came down from trees and started walking on our 2 feet. Because of curiosity, we started using fire. Because of curiosity, we are what we are today. And creativity. The creativity is the reason why we started using fire in different ways, and we started making weapons, and how we started hunting, how we started foraging, and how we started building civilization, farming, and everything. So, and entertainment. Entertainment has been the sort of, human being has always been looking at ways of entertaining, and that's the reason today we have culture, we have music, we have books, and whatnot. So these things started because these things have sort of, together have contributed to what human being is today with respect to him being a social animal. If anything, industrialization and urban living also contributing to sort of, break in social structures. I mean, like say joint families to sort of, individual families, massive number of people working in closed spaces, unrelated health issues, congested concrete slums. If anything, these changes have increased stress in human beings. So, human being being a social animal, she or he was one before they started working in away from home, and they will continue to be one after they sort of work from home as well. So it is now social being giving as a reason for mental health deterioration during work from home is actually not a reason at all. The other aspect which comes out is the culture of the teams which is getting affected. The culture of the team is very important. Culture of an organization is very important. And without a good culture, a good working environment, you cannot have a satisfaction, which is directly connected to our mental health as well. So, coming to this particular issue, this question crops up a lot: working in teams, team spirit, working culture, whatever we are being today, sort of work from home is destroying this particular work culture, and
2 minutes more.
Yeah. So, but the whole question itself is wrong. Since improvement in IT infrastructure, remote working was the way with this particular industry. So people used to go to office to work remotely with people all over the world, team members being part from different parts of the world. And they sort of, whether it was working for Intel, wherever you are, it was always possible to sort of have a good working culture. So that argument also falls flat. So in every aspect you look at it, so the kind of reasons what are being quoted itself is wrong, I feel. So work from home has created certain unique problems, but that is because suddenly we were dropped out of the blue without preparing. When this happened, we all had to suddenly change ourselves and do it. So we have certain challenges in front of us. We have to look at what we have to do and how we have to cope with this particular problem. But to say that work from home itself is going to damage our mental health is a completely wrong question, is my argument. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And you finished 1 minute to go. That's wonderful. So your basic comments is that the question itself is wrong, that whether work from home improves mental health, because your arguments are that it prevents the traffic and the pollution, which are associated with poor mental health and violence, etc. And the fact that people, especially people working in the IT industries, have always in some ways connected with people in very distant parts of the world across the globe. And in some ways, this kind of connectivity has always been there. So your central argument is that the whole percept itself is wrong. So let's move on to Virupaksha. Virupaksha, the time is 7:58. Your time starts now, 15 minutes. You have to unmute, Virupaksha.
Ma'am,
Your
I
time
thank you for
starts
your
now.
introduction as well as the Telearoget team for the opportunity. I think when me and Dr. Girish spoke, we both decided to do a small PPT. I think Girish sir was working from home. He got distracted. He could not do the PPT. So I am working from office. So I have the PPT. So I'll start presenting the PPT. Okay. Is it visible, my PowerPoint?
Doctor, you have to take it to slide share mode.
Slideshow. Slide share and slideshow.
Yeah.
You were fine earlier. Yeah, slideshow now.
Just a minute.
It's right there, Virupaksha. It's
No, ma'am. This is blocking this thing. I'm just taking a minute.
it's on the top. There's an arrow and next to it.
Yes.
Next to it, yeah. Right.
Okay. So I think it was wonderful to listen to how working from home is something which was normal for humans for time immemorial, and from the evolutionary perspective and all those things. I'm going to talk about how it has been counterproductive. In fact, working from home is actually probably at some context it can be struggling to be at home, because when there is this blurring of boundaries between what is work and what is home, I think that can create a huge amount of issue. So I will go through the journey of how this can be a difficult journey, considering that we are taking something that is not supposed to be done traditionally. Yes, the COVID has changed a lot of our perspective. In fact, before we started, we were looking at how things have changed, how we have all become tech savvy, how everything has moved to online. At the same time, there are certain aspects. There is also this question of why should we change the way that we were dealing with things. So I'm going to just probably look at one or two case vignettes where we get this patient. These are all real cases which I had seen in the last few days. A 30-year-old software engineer. He has been very stressed. This guy was working at office. Since the COVID, he started working at home. That is when he says the problem started. Because at home, he was told to log in at a particular time and log out at a particular time. And he has not been instructed any other thing. So he has to be there online from morning till evening. He cannot go off the system because anytime he can be pinged to answer something or something like that. He says that the whole work schedule has gotten blurred. And at home, my wife is seeing me and she says, you are at home sitting in front of the computer. You're not doing anything. You're not doing any work. You're not even talking. So why are you not doing household chores? And that creates a sense of difficulty to handle and balance both the work, because your boss thinks that you are at home, you're free and you have to work, and at home your wife thinks that you are in front of the computer not doing anything and you are supposed to help. So this is something that has been very, very common. In fact, I'm going to share one or two information regarding how the interpersonal issue has also become significantly higher because of a lot of people choosing to work from home without actually realizing that it can be counterproductive also. And this is including in mental health professionals. We have seen, I have come across 2-3 therapists who have been completely, the whole therapy has shifted to online, where there is no office, they have to do therapy from home. And there is this anxiety that what if my parents or some of the family members listen to what I'm speaking? I cannot talk something which is very, very confidential. You cannot discuss certain sensitive things at home. So there is this apprehension that you cannot be free. At the same time, you cannot say no, because that's part of your work. So in that context, lot of these tricky things which might not have been there before, because you had this privacy, you had this safe place to do whatever you want at your workplace, has gotten blurred. And that has created a sense of not just the psychological symptoms, a lot of other complex issues leading into interpersonal issues, leading into efficiency, and etc., etc. So, in fact, when I was told to talk about this, I was not very much aware that there are lots of research evidence also, where how certain factors which will make you to work from home can be counterproductive. There are multiple models which has been explained as early as in 1990, where they have said work from home can be explained at multiple thematic models. One is the segmentation, where you have a clear demarcation to work at home, and you have your personal life at work from office, and you have personal life at home. There is a spillover model where people say that one aspect will influence the other. So if you're working, that can influence your personal life, or in your personal life there is an issue that can influence the work related thing. And there are also a lot of people who try to compensate what is lacking. We see, I'm sure that all of us have seen a lot of people, when their personal life is taking a hit, they say they spend a lot of time at the workplace, or when the workplace is having problem, they tend to stay back at home. And instrumental is another model where one issue is leading to another, and the conflict is something where they say that when there is no choice for this person, then he had to start working from home. I think all of us are now in the conflict aspect, where we don't have an option. Most of us cannot go, most of the IT people, at least we can go to hospital, but most of the other people can't go to the office. So the reason why this is very, very important is when the issues are overlapping, sometimes the boundaries that we are dealing with, sometimes the expectations that we have from the specific places get merged, and it creates a problem. So previously, when we are at work, we used to think of, okay, I need to go back home because home is the place where I would relax. Now you're at home, which is a place of relaxation, but you are actually not relaxed because you're working. Your boss is expecting something. You are supposed to do something, and there is absolutely no place where you can sit back and relax and say, okay, work is done. So casually, a lot of people would say, don't bring back your work to home. But now we have gone into an entirely different situation, where we are carrying work to home, and we are doing work from home, which is again creating issues. So what are the challenges? What are the challenges that we are commonly facing, especially if you're working from home? Again, I'm trying to reiterate the fact what Dr. Girish Chandra said. Many a times we might not be able to completely delineate the mental health issues as well as the practical difficulties, because we all know whenever we go through practical difficulties, whenever there is a stress, whenever there is a question mark about our resilience, that is when the mental health gets affected. So when there is a situation where you have no schedule, or you have to prepare your own schedule, because at office you know what you have to do. You have a lunch hour, you have a break, you have your colleagues, you can probably take a walk. But at home there is no schedule, and that creates a sense of insecurity. And there is a blurred personal and professional boundaries. I already probably given case vignette where we really don't know what is the time that we need to dedicate for our family. So when do we have to? There are people who have been taking calls till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock at night, because they are at home, they are supposed to do it. So what happens to your personal life? What happens to the time that you need to spend with your spouse? What happens to the time that you spend with your kid? So that gets blurred automatically. The other person might start feeling that restlessness, that okay, I'm not getting what I want. The whole idea of the balance of life is to have a system where there is a balance between three things. I'll talk about it on the next slide. But the moment it gets blurred, it invariably affects not just your mental health, it also affects someone else's mental health, because you spend extra time to convince the other person this is important, which the other person might not actually understand. So impaired social interaction and social isolation. The very important point Dr. Girichandra also raised is we are social beings. So how can we be sitting just inside the house and expect the interaction to go on? Because we need to take a break. We need to interact with people. There has to be a balance between a personal, social, and professional life. So the moment if we are not doing it, the cushion or the buffer that needs to work is already gone. So that leads to a significant sense of isolation, leading into mental health issues. Distraction. We know that whenever we are doing something from home, there can be a lot of distraction. Not just because if I am doing a Zoom meeting from home, I'll put a virtual background because I don't want any movement from the background, etc., etc. So we are always conscious about the distraction again, which impairs our efficiency. The moment there is an impairment of efficiency, there is a question mark that leads to anxiety, performance issues, etc., etc. There is a significant expectation overload. Expectation both from your workplace and from your family. So you are always available theoretically both to your workplace as well as your family. So no one really cares about how you're balancing it. Sometimes you are expected to be available in both the places at the same time. Sometimes, especially when it comes to starting professional or the person who is in the initial stages, there is a reduced supervision. We all know whenever we are getting trained, whenever, irrespective of whatever profession we are in, there is a significant requirement of this supervision so that someone monitors, helps us to grow as a professional. So this is lost. So they can only do virtually. Virtually, no one knows what exactly is happening. It is definitely not the ideal form of supervision, and that is also having a long-term effect. So we know that there was a recent report of how online class has been absolutely not helping for kids in India. So schools from home or online classes are equivalent to working from home for kids. So when there is already a report which says that, okay, online classes have not been helpful because there is no one-to-one interaction, there is no monitoring, there is no supervision, I don't think we are looking at an efficiency here. Just for the sake of doing it for a time being, yes, absolutely fine, because we don't have another option. But as a concept, as a trend, I don't think that is going to help us in a long term. Something that Dr. Girichandra also pointed, and there is a huge amount of data about, is the interpersonal issues. We have almost a 50% surge in both intimate partner violence and domestic violence after the COVID. Not because COVID has created domestic violence, because a lot of people are staying at home. They are not used to spending so much of time at home, and it is leading into a lot of altercations, which might be expressed as domestic violence. So these are just main challenges. There can be various different challenges which are very, very specific to certain specific professions. I would not get into that. So again, something that I usually advise, and we all know, is there is a rule of the third that we follow in life. It is probably a balance of personal, social, and professional life, which needs to be balanced. And the moment there is a significant tilt, or you try to merge two things in a single pillar, that creates a problem in terms of balance. It doesn't give the stability. At the same time, it doesn't give the strength also to hold on to the life. So we are not just talking about certain anecdotal evidences or patient report. There has been, this is long back, I think 4-5 years back, a UN study had reported that telecommuting can increase significantly in terms of the stress level, as well as also lead to certain depressive symptoms. This is there in the public domain. So the other aspect is, this is from India, where a psychiatrist from PGI has reported this, where it says that work from home, it destroys work-life balance, because a lot of people, yes, for some people it might definitely work. Dr. Vijay said that one of his friend has been working from home for a really long time. Yes, it works for some people exceptionally, but not everyone can handle this sorts of change in the way that the work is happening. And also, a recent survey reveals that 80% of the workers would quit their job because the mental health is not taken care of. So a lot of people, more than 50 to 60% of the people have been reporting of mental health issues because they are unable to balance. There is too much of distraction. There is a sense of helplessness, and then there is a sense of guilt that has been
Just
building
2
up.
minutes.
Yes, ma'am. So this is again published last month. How this is from India again. How work from home is affecting women's mental health. We can see here that 1/3 of the workers in India are facing increased burnout. Again, there is the margin which has blurred between work and personal life, and 41% of the people have reported that there is a lack of separation between work and personal life, which is negatively impacting their life. So when there are evidences for that, I don't think we have a doubt regarding where exactly we need to do our work. And this is another paradox. I said the how interpersonal, intimate partner violence as well as domestic violence has increased because of the COVID-19, not because of anything else, because a lot of people are staying back home and the frustration is getting expressed as the violence. So in 2000, Clark reported something called as a border theory, especially how we need to delineate between work and how we need to separate the work as well as personal life. Because when there is no boundary, that can lead to a lot of issues. How someone crosses the boundary, you can get shot. Similarly, this is probably an equivalent of mental health, where if at all we merge too many things which can create stress, it can negatively impact our mental health. So for better mental health, just like how we drive only on the road, how we cook our food in the kitchen, let's probably kick out the COVID and get back to a state where we work from office so that we don't have any negative mental health issues. So at the this thing, it might appear that the expectation is you are going to do wonderfully well working from home, but the picture is entirely different. So let's be at home. Let's, just like how we explain about the sleep hygiene, let us also have home hygiene. Thank you for all for the patient hearing. Thank you, ma'am. I'm done.
Thank you very much. Again, bang on time. Of course, you used all your time, and including the little time you had to put on the slides. So, I mean, I must say this. That's one of the things that I do say. You said about relaxing at home, but one thing I'm very fond of saying is going to work is enjoyable. My work starts at 6 o'clock when I come home. So I think there is a definitely a gender related issue there, that it's not all relaxation at home. You've told us several things about blurring of boundaries, about blurring of spaces in the house, about having expectation overloads, of difficulties getting distracted from work when you're at home, lack of supervision and monitoring from your workplace, interpersonal issues, and you've got us data to talk about the kind of difficulties that have occurred since lockdown. So now, Girish, it's your time to rebut Virupaksha's.
Yeah, ma'am, can we open the polls so that they have the option of changing anyway in any case? So
shall we listen to the rebuttal before we open the polls?
That's okay, fine. Okay.
So that, because I'm sure Girish is not going to let Virupaksha get away with whatever he said. So I think we need to see whether the audience can be swayed by how Girish comes back and completely demolishes Virupaksha's arguments. We'll see that. Okay. So 5 minutes to you, Girish, from now.
Thank you, ma'am. It's a fantastic presentation, Virupaksha. So it shows an academician how he does compared to a private practitioner. Okay, so now I want to focus on just a few points. Work from home is not new for human beings. Okay, in fact, work from home has been the way for most of the human civilization, and that's proven beyond the point. As of now, work from home is enforced because of the situation where we are because of the pandemic. But for a big section of society, I'm speaking about homemakers, housewives, stay-home people. So, what is our comment? What is your comment about work from home for them? So what's about their mental health? Does it mean that it's not important for them? Only it's important only for IT industry, software, and these people. So we really cannot say that mental health is bad. Work from home is bad for mental health. So all those people who have been managing at home, are they suffering from mental health issues? That's no question. Now, the other certain important difficulties that have cropped up because of sudden implementation of work from home, that because of the COVID. I think these are real issues. Many human beings have struggled when industrialization started. Gradually, situation changed, we adjusted. Similarly, we are at a crossroads again. We have to adjust, make some changes at home, where we work, establish certain boundaries. For example, human beings adjusted to urban living. We adjusted from from joint families to nuclear families. We adjusted to both parents working. We now have to adjust to work from home. So we have to come up with solutions. We have to create islands within the home where it is not disturbed. And we are assuming that wife is the one who is disturbing the husband. So what about if the other way? What about if both are working? So it's really we have certain challenges in front of us. We have to start working on those things. So we have to make changes at home, establish boundaries, clear clear place at work, clear place of work in, like as I said, islands. Infrastructure arrangements needs to happen. Suddenly, when COVID came and we were told that you have to work from home, many people at their homes, they didn't have proper broadband, internet, whatever. So those kind of changes needs to happen. But a human being is creative. They come up with solutions. They keep looking for solutions. I'm sure they will come up with solutions for this again. And boundaries. Were there not boundary issues at work? How many patients have we seen where they would come and complain about the problems they are facing in the offices from their bosses? Was unusual working hours? Is it just now it has started? Was it not there before COVID pandemic? So the problems, what you mentioned, were always there, and they will continue to be there. So we have to adjust. Gender-based thinking and assumptions need to change. With that, we will thrive. Work from home will be part of our life. We probably will have to come up with some kind of solution where, probably majority of our work will be from home. Maybe we have to go once in a while to the office and meet up with our bosses, meet up with our mentors. And again, coming to the mentor issue, don't we have mentors from all over the world? Is it only that we mentors are there only in MS Ramaiah College? You don't have mentors elsewhere. You don't meet them. You don't discuss with them. So what I'm trying to say is that it is possible in this day and this age. It is not a big issue at all. So majority of our time will be at work from home for these industries and for many other people. And so for some of them, maybe they have to come up with some kind of hybrid arrangement. So in the coming days, I'm sure they will come up with that. So from my point of view, work from home is good for mental health. Thank you.
Thank you, Girish. So the point that I think you've rebutted is that, it is just the transitional difficulties rather than a effect on mental health. Once those transitional difficulties are kind of surmounted, then it's all hunky-dory. Everything is good. It's going to shift to work from home model in future. Virupaksha, your turn. Your 5 minutes starts now.
Yeah, I think, ma'am, Dr. Girish himself actually supported this thing, because he said that somewhere a lot of things are changing and we need to adjust. We need to make islands at home, which is your workplace. So somewhere, we are also looking at a situation where we talked about evolutionary one. Even when you look at evolutionary concepts of how people were living, they used to have their living place, even though it is in the forest, would be a place which is somewhere away from wherever wild animals can come. They used to have a boundary. So the boundary used to be put with fire so that the wild animals don't enter, something like that. So there was always a demarcation. Yes, people were working at home, but what sort of work was it? Was it something that to earn their livelihood? Was it something that is that can be do? Like I have seen a lot of people working from home. When I was a kid, when I had been to Tamil Nadu, the first thing that I saw working from home was people who used to roll BDs. So they used to come to this factory, collect the tobacco, go home, prepare it, come back. But we are in an entirely different situation where probably both the partners can be working. There is a significant requirement. We don't have supervisions at home. It is not like unlike before where there is someone else to take care of the household chores and those things. So in that context, yes, I would say we are in a changing situation where a lot of things can change in the future. We don't know, like probably the half of the working population might shift to working from home. But what we are looking at a much larger issue. The larger issue is, should we blur the boundary between a personal life and a professional life? Should we have a boundary in terms of whether it can be time or it can be a geographical distinction in where we are working and where we are not working, what time you're working and what time you're not working. And the moment this becomes blurred, I'm sure that if for example now we are all talking, and I'm sure that if any of our family members enters and then they want to take our time because it's evening there, it's supposed to be a non-working time. So what is the effect that happens on the webinar that we are having, on the debate that we are having? So taking that into context, it's yes, I definitely agree that it's probably not an easy thing. The world is transitioning, but we should be very much aware that there are certain, if not a watertight compartment, there are certain boundaries that we need to maintain, because the balance can only happen like that. Again, a lot of times we cannot take, just like how we cannot take the household tensions to a workplace, the work related tensions should also not go to the home. Looking at the larger interest of not just your personal life, the mental health of yourself, mental health of your family, and this thing. Again, from time immemorial, human, contrary to what Dr. Girish Chandra said, has always distincted. We have drawn boundaries. In fact, even if you look at wars were always fought much away from where there was a settlement. So they used to have a place designated to war where two armies would fight there, so that there is no disturbance to the people who are living. So in that context, traditionally, it has always been demarcated. There has been certain overlap, but I don't think we should get into a situation where we say that home and work both can happen at the same time. I don't think that's going to happen. That's this thing, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So everybody's heard both the in favor of the proposition, against the proposition, as well as seen the rebuttal. Vijay, shall we go ahead and do the voting now? The voting lines are open. Please vote.
It's in the chat box. People can just
box.
Yeah. In the meantime, ma'am, there is a question, I think.
Yeah, no, let's. I think it'll just take about a minute to do the Slido response. So, can everybody please go on to the Slido, which is in the chat box. Vijay has put it in the chat box. Just click on it and please vote. Is that good enough time, Vijay? You've got your votes in?
Got only 4 till now.
Oh.
5 it's counting.
Okay.
Ganeshan sir, you can also vote.
Okay. So I guess Vijay will be satisfied with that for the time being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's 5 for yes, it's all green. 5 have voted for no, it's just blues only. Can't say is 2. So it's again, it's level. Scores are level.
Yeah. So it's kind of,
And
yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
when we had began, I think what was the score? Let me check. It was 12 towards no, it's not. One second. Let me have a check.
It's the other way, no, Vijay?
Yeah, no, it's the scores are level, but when we close the pre-debate polls, 12 slightly more towards no, it's just blues, which means um, in favor of Virupaksha, and now it's level. It scores are level.
Yeah, but the numbers are smaller, so
Smaller, yeah. So we can say,
yeah. So Girish, you cannot claim victory on this.
yeah,
I think
I think if I need to add to this, many people thought hybrid model is the best model, where we have a mix of both. So that's where we are standing. Maybe. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. So yeah, I mean, as everybody I think has we realized, it's a bit of really figuring out how this whole thing balances out, and where do you, what's good about it and what's not good about it, perhaps, rather than saying it's all good or not all bad. And I think that's really reflects the way these the polls have gone. But let's take a couple of questions. There's a question from Manju to the panelists. When both husband and wife are a working couple, they have their own spaces at workplace and they don't tread on each other's feet. The housewives, though they work at home, they also have their personal time and space once the family members leave for their respective work, school, and colleges. Getting out of the home for work is a change of scenario, even if the office work is associated with stress and tension. Meeting people face to face, chatting with them is a relaxation. That's Dr. Manjula's opinion. I'll quickly ask both Virupaksha and Girish to respond to this very briefly.
Ma'am, just coming to that particular issue, there are a lot of people who have been in this particular industry who have been working from home. Already it has been happening, and people who have been working like this have come up with some kind of a balance. Both from where both the situations where both the couple have to work, and also where housewives and other way. So it is not something which has if you apply your mind, if you work out what is going to best possible way to work around. So I'm sure it is possible to come up with some kind of answer. Just like how we assume that you're sitting in front of the computer, wife thinks you are not working. We also assume that just by wife is staying home and she's having a easy life. No, it's possible to look at from both perspectives. In a way, it might be good for family that they get to see different aspects of what other partner's life is when they are working.
Okay, Virupaksha, your take.
Ma'am, I think I'll agree with what Dr. Manjula has said. A lot of people, in fact, something that we missed out on discussing probably much more in detail about is people who stay at home, or housewives or homemakers. In fact, house is a place where they work, and they are very, very comfortable because they can work, and that's their workplace. And a lot of times when you take them out from that workplace, a lot of times we have seen people complaining that, oh, I cannot cook now. Cooking was a relaxation for me, even though it is a work, it is a type of stress. A lot of people enjoy it, and I think all of it has its own merits and demerits, but we need to look at individuals' perspective regarding where they can relax. Like you rightly said, your work starts at 6 o'clock in the morning, and
In the
many
evening.
times,
In the evening.
evening. So as soon as you finish your work, you go home, then you need to take care of that too. But I'm sure that when there is something that you're looking forward, probably having a nice dinner, or your thought of doing something, that would be enjoyable too. You would actually not realize how probably enjoyable it is. Like I remember when we were doing DPM and MD in Nemans, we used to finish at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. There would not be food at home, but we would still be completely energetic at 9 o'clock at night, or 10 o'clock. We used to go to Koramangala and have some food. And even at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, we used to go to bed, happy and energetic. So many a times it all depends upon the perspective of looking at things. And I completely agree with what Dr. Manjula has put it.
So then maybe you also agree with Girish Chandra, it's a matter of perspective that you learn to enjoy working at home. You can enjoy it. So Devraj, Dr. Devraj Belagire agrees fully with Dr. Girish Chandra that work from home was there in the past, was good for the individual, can overcome all the traffic and other aspects. It's all fine. But he would like to ask, the people who work from home, do they miss the social life and socializing, which may increase their productivity? Virupaksha, I'm going to ask you to answer that first.
I'm sure, ma'am, because a lot of people, at least we have a huge number of IT population where one of the common concern is I'm not meeting my friends, I'm not meeting my colleagues. And yes, people are gotten into Zoom party, Zoom celebration, but it is not equivalent. They definitely miss the in-person interaction and social life. That's definitely there.
Okay, Girish, I mean, I'm sure you'll argue that there's so much other ways of socially connecting rather than just face-to-face connecting. Go ahead, Girish.
Yes, ma'am. So the thing is, with social life and socializing increasing productivity, I specifically did not focus on the productivity part because it was from employer's perspective, maybe. So, but productivity, it's obvious that work from home has already demonstrated increased productivity since this thing. And the other thing is that we are not socializing. It is not because we are working from home. We are not socializing for the last 8 to 9 months. It is because of the pandemic, because of the COVID situation. If not, we always used to find whatever different means of socialization and we used to have friends from all different aspects of our life, not just even when you were in demands. It was not friends for not only from demands. We used to have friends from other places also. We would meet, we would go out, we would socialize. So it is about how we are going to apply ourselves and find ways to do it. And if given given some time, we will find ways. We will find we can't really be not socializing. So that is not actually a reason or question at all in this aspect. That's my argument, ma'am.
Thanks to both of you. Himangi says, vote in favor of working from home will create mental stress. I wonder if Himangi can just expand that a little bit more so that we can have a discussion around what you're saying so that we understand it. While you do that, Rashmi, you're saying people are all frustrated now. Again, frustrated about working from home, or is it not being able to go back to work? It'd be nice if you can just tell us a little bit more about what you went. Vijay, Dr. Kushwaha is asking about whether there's a feedback link.
I've requested they can type here itself. So
okay, they can do typing in here in the
chat box.
Chat box itself. So I'm just going to ask a couple more questions. Or in fact, Vijay, Mahesh, the other participants, please come in whenever you feel like, because I think there are a lot of issues that were raised very nicely. I mean, one of the questions is for whose mental health? One thing that we didn't bring in is children. I think, we only talked about, husband and wife working. We forgot about parents, we forgot about children, and, how it can impact either which way in terms of, everybody is, staying at home and their mental health. But I just wonder, and I want Girish to respond to this. I mean, because we are talking now about working from home, and mental health in our present context. Otherwise, I don't think this is a kind of larger debate on on civilization and so on. But even now, Girish, do you think there was a honeymoon phase about this, and do you think this phase will continue to last and people will continue to be happy about working from home? I'll pose this question to Girish first, and then maybe Virupaksha can take that.
There was a comment which was made by Dr. Virupaksha regarding children. For children, online classes is in a way work from home. So it's true, children are missing out on socialization and interpersonal relationship and all. But not all interpersonal relationships for children was happening at school. Physical exercise, which was important. There are ways to ensure there is physical exercise for children even when they are having online classes. So a lot of parents whom I have come across, in fact, are exploring, they're relooking at their whole life in particular and looking at educating children at home, like homeschooling, and continuing to have work from home. So they feel their quality of time with their children has improved, and their childrens are getting sort of overall development with for children. So there is that aspect as well. I'm not telling it's true for all children. Of course, there will be parents who are at certain disadvantage who cannot do that, and there will be children who have issues at school as well, where some children won't cope. And so there is that aspect, that spectrum of what works for some people, what doesn't work for some people. But entirely saying that schooling is always good for going to school is always good for children itself is a wrong concept. So there are different ways of looking at things. We should be open to all aspects. So now coming to the honeymoon phase, and especially when this started, and the expectation from school was less, expectation from workplace was less, and there was sort of everybody had a little bit more free time when they were at home, when the work from home started. So there was sort of somehow everybody had this feel good factor. But that seems to be changing gradually as the demands increase, as the demand from school increase, as the demands from workplace increase. So, but it's still a very dynamic phase, and we still have to sort of explore and adjust to what is coming. And that's the way it is. That's the way it was in the past as well. And parents also used to have certain issues when children were having holidays, and they would come up with different kinds of arrangements during that time. So I'm sure now also parents will come up with solution. As human beings have always been creative, and it's their way to find solutions. They can't just stay with the problems. So I feel it's still a very green, dynamic phase. There will be more solutions in the coming days.
Okay. Virupaksha, do you want to respond to that quickly?
Yes, ma'am. I think, as Dr. Girish said, somewhere it's a dynamic phase. I agree. At the same time, something which is very, very pertinent is, are we in a honeymoon phase? The term that is currently being used across the world is pandemic fatigue, where people who were enjoying the lockdown, people were very happy in the initial days of the lockdown. They can just chill at home, not do anything, relax, and all those things. So gradually the fatigue sets in. Just like how stress can be hyper stress and hypo stress, we are also looking at a component where initially there is all this energy to work from home. You are trying out some new things. There is a novelty, and everyone is doing it. But once we gotten used to these sorts of things, we also start looking at the negative aspects of it. Probably we start looking at the complications related to that. I'm sure that over a period of time, we are going to realize whether the honeymoon is going to continue, because I think it is not natural for honeymoon to continue for too long. So we will gradually realize over a period of time that there are challenges. So if at all we handle it in a proper way, probably it might work. We don't know. But there are too many challenges to handle at this point in time if this continues. And we should all know that the whole world has gotten into this only because of COVID. So we would not be probably discussing about these things if COVID was not there. So when COVID goes, how are we going to handle it? So are we going to go back to the traditional way because that has worked for thousands and thousands of years? Or are we going to continue this in spite of there is a question mark about its efficiency and impact on physical and mental health?
Thanks, Virupaksha. There's a comment from Dr. Mamta Shetty. A friend sits in the balcony during the daytime with son and daughter-in-law in 2 different rooms, working, and twin grandchildren attending online class in another room. So, so it's I think the point that Dr. Mamta Shetty is making is that everybody kind of, if they have their own spaces, they're in their own spaces, or perhaps they're looking into their mobile phones or watching a movie on Netflix. So I think that's another very important reality. Dr. Devraj still believes that work from home is better in all prospects. from all aspects. That's very encouraging. But what it seems like is that, change is the one constant that we are seeing, and whatever happens, it's change. I also wanted to check this. The pandemic fatigue that I thought was in the context of worrying about safety during the pandemic, and kind of dropping your guard about about what precautions to kind of take. So the other thing is that while millennials are rejoicing, people are finding new things to do, new ways to do it, and they're really enjoying this kind of split. It is said that what will it do to organizational culture? One of the concerns that has come up is what it will do to organizational culture. Will it disturb the loyalty that people have, in terms of the teamwork that people need to develop? So I just thought I'm going to ask Vijay actually to come in onto this, because I think, Vijay, you've written about this, so maybe a couple of minutes on your take on some of these issues.
Yeah. From employees' perspective, they feel that their work time actually has increased. Somewhere they are expected more than they would have done probably at work. That is one thing. And some people did complain that they're only paid 4 days a week worth of salary for the same work that they've been doing. Um, and and definitely a lot of employers felt that office space was waste of time, waste of money rather, waste of resources. So they think that most of people have started thinking that hybrid model may work better, and many people were stopped getting their what do you call, team money, or what they call, not team money. It's discounts, coupons for their eating at the workplace, the canteens and things, the subsidized things, and that amount of travel allowance were taken off from the salary. And some also mentioned that the amount of work has increased, and sometimes they are expected to be available at 7-8 o'clock in the evening also, just because you're at home. And they also found it difficult to apply and leaves, and saying that anyway you are at work at home, why do you need leave? So the joy of going home on a Friday evening is not there anymore. So it's just that tomorrow is Diwali, and today is Friday evening, and next 3 days is Diwali. So I'm going to have fun time. That's been taken off now. That's one thing they complained. Apart from this, again, travel is a big thing that they mentioned. Yeah, but other than this, um, there were some reports that some people had kind of behavioral issues in workplace, like affairs at work that were known when they had started working at home. Some reports, and I can't pinpoint on any reference to that. And then also people who had habits of smoking, where the spouse didn't know at home. That is another issue. So they had difficulty in working long hours at home without having their tobacco use, and those kind of things, of course. And there have been some lot of stress, depression, suicides, marital conflicts, marital discords, fights, abuses, again have been reported. So yeah.
Okay, so
Just, madam, one little, ma'am.
Girish, yes.
Yeah. So just that.
I also want you to make your winding up comments, because I think we're
Yeah.
reaching time. So make your comment,
Yeah.
and then your winding up comment as well.
So with respect to this thing about the employers demanding people to work for long hours or during the holiday and these things, this is an abusing kind of a culture in that particular industry or company or team. So that kind of thing was always there in certain industries, in certain workplaces. So we cannot generalize that to say that just because there are some teams and some managers who are abusive, who are not knowing where to stop, that means that whole work from home culture itself is wrong. Is a wrong way of looking at things. That's from my perspective. The other thing is that you made a comment about the culture. Remote working has been there for the last 15 years, where there are people from working from Europe to Asia to Japan to Australia, and when this kind of remote working has been around, and there are big sort of good workplaces are able to manage and instill a good working culture in spite of remote working. What makes us think now that just because work from home is there, the culture is not there? So I think that's, again, if you have the will, you can get the culture in a particular team. It especially the culture depends on the leadership of the team, and so the leadership has to draw certain lines and has to give a sort of working style, what we want and how we want, and so it is possible to get a good culture in spite of the work from home. And regarding the mental health issue itself, lots of the arguments what we are coming up is because people are misusing things, people are abusing sort of how it is happening. So just because people are misusing and abusing, that doesn't mean work from home itself is bad. In life, nothing is you cannot be on a pendulum, cannot be on one side, and you just have to say that that's the way things are. We have to find a way to work around things. So this is a situation. Work from home is here to stay, and we have to find ways to work around. So there are some challenges. There are some, especially for a country like ours, having islands of work at home is a challenge, because not everybody has multiple rooms, and those kind of issues are there. It's a challenge. We have to come up with solutions. But work from home is here to stay, and human beings will find ways to maintain their mental health. And of course, we are there to support if there is a need. Thank you, ma'am.
Compelling arguments, Dr. Girish. Dr. Virupaksha, your closing comments?
Yeah, I think, ma'am, at the end of the day, yes, the human beings are quite resilient. We have adjusted to various different aspects. Yes, work from home to some professionals, yes, that can be conducive and to balance those things. Again, it cannot be used as a norm, because somewhere we are blurring a lot of aspects. We are mixing up too many things. And one of the, again, the compelling aspects in psychiatry practice is we tend to always make sure that there is adequate amount of attention and effort given to various aspects, whether it is our personal life, social life, and professional life. And that is the reason why there needs to be a balance. Some set of people might still be able to work, as Dr. Girish said. Yes, we might find a way to deal with these things, but are we going to change the whole way of looking at everyone? Like, for example, as doctors, can we imagine working from home every day? Are we not going to run OPDs? Are we not going to see physical patients? Yes, we can see online consultation, we can do online therapy, but are we doing the justice for our patients? I'm just giving one example. So I think it cannot even be imagined that we don't have physical hospitals, we don't go and see patients, we don't examine them clinically. So that is something that is not going to be working from home. Yes, it's going to stay for some set of people, but it's not going to be a norm. It's not going to be applicable to everyone. So in that context, we need to take the whole aspect with a pinch of salt, looking at the various socio-cultural as well as mental health aspects.
Thank you, Virupaksha. Dr. Devraj is again very persistently saying that his observation from his peer group who are working from home is that youngsters are missing the office social life, whereas the 40s and 50s are enjoying work from home, and probably post 50, they want to get away from home and want to be at the office. I think, very, very intuitive and very insightful observations. That just reminds me something I read recently, that when you leave from one room to another, you generally leave your thoughts of the previous room there. I don't know how easy it is to do it at home if you're stuck in just a couple of spaces. But there is also equally the opposite argument that when a worker comes to a factory, he does not leave the problems of home at the factory gates. the fact that, you carry problems from home to work and work to home. That being said, I think finally what I see is that it's not just about working from home or being at home. It is about working from home. So I think lots of people being at home has resulted in a huge number of of problems that I think Virupaksha kind of outlined have been real problems. Girish, I think what you have said is that a lot of adjustments need to be made, but that is the whole problem, that to what extent are these adjustments possible, and equitable, and gender equal, justice to children, to the elderly, etc. And I think those become the huge problems, and I don't think we're right now ready. I mean, although you did talk about models of working from home, even some of those models that you talked about are people connecting to different parts of the world, very often from office spaces, not always from home. So I think we will as human beings, as you all both said, continue to adapt, continue to face these things, because we don't have a choice, frankly, at this point in time. But it's going to be very revolutionary in the way people are going to look at it. And I think a lot of the drivers of this is not what you and I think, but the economic drivers. Some companies looking to cut back on costs, looking to, to minimize the number of people who are there, reduce office space, etc. But I think on the flip side is also concerns about how much more personally enveloped will we get as individuals. Already, some of the social media is making us more socially isolated, more device connected than individual connected. How much ever we say, emotional physical distancing is not social distancing, I think these are real problems that are going to stay with us. So I'm in some ways very relieved that it is a balanced playing field as far as the polls are concerned, because it's very difficult for me to think that it can only be advantages to mental health from this. There are obvious advantages, but equally there are challenges. So I think it's been a fascinating debate. I want to thank Dr. Girish Chandra and Dr. Virupaksha for actually very passionately discussing their views on this subject. I want to thank the audience, a small audience, but a very engaged audience who asked many questions and participated actively in the chat. I want to thank Vijay for actually organizing this along with Mahesh and with Jagdish. Please wish Jagdish on our behalf for his birthday today. And thank you very much as well to the organizers. And thank you, Mr. Ganeshan, for handling all the the technical aspects. It's been a wonderful day. Vijay, do you have any announcements to make?
Nothing. Thank you very much, Dr. Girish and Dr. Virupaksha. You've been fantastic. And Dr. Virupaksha, even though you were against work from home, you did well doing webinar from home. So, ma'am, you ran it so well. So I know whom to contact if I need a good referee. So
it's a pleasure with all of
I
you.
know.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Ganeshan, thank you for your support as always from my
Thank you all very much, and good night.
Thanks all the audience.
As usual, enjoyed the program. Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you.
Without the audience, it's very difficult. Thank you very much for your support.
Bye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, everyone.